The .hack franchise is a close personal favorite of mine, and I will always take the time to recommend it to anyone that is interested. But between the many entries and the ever-increasing price tag of some of the older titles, it can be a little intimidating to find a starting point, so I thought I'd make a video to help explain some of the easier places to start. First, let's explain what .hack is. .hack is a series that follows around the popular MMO, The World. Each entry follows a different group of individuals who end up wrapped up in some strange event that occurs within it. How strange, you might ask? Reports of players going into a coma and worldwide internet outages. I'll be talking about the anime, video games, and manga titles while giving each one a brief summary and their ease of physical access as well as a time card for when each section begins. Then it'll be up to you to determine what works best for you. For the purpose of this video, I will only be addressing the media that has been released outside of Japan. This way those of you that like physical copies know what is available for purchase without the need to know Japanese. Sound good? Great, let's get started. First up, let's address the anime entries as they are perhaps the easiest to get a hold of. All of the anime I will mention on this list can be found on the Funimation and Tubi app. There are 4 titles that have ease of access for those interested in hopping in. There's .hack Sign, .hack Legend of the Twilight Bracelet, abbreviated Dusk, .hack Roots, and .hack Quantum. .hack Sign follows a young player named Tsukasa, who mysteriously finds that he can't log out of the world. Along the way he meets a few friends that want to help him out, but does Tsukasa really want to leave? .hack Roots follows the adventures of Haseo in his first time in the world. Here you meet the friends that he made and how he grew close to the character Shino before the event with Tri-Edge. Sign and Roots act as companion pieces to their corresponding games, Infection, Mutation, Outbreak, and Quarantine, and the G.U saga, and mostly set up the plots of these games. The stories are slow, the characters in some cases can be a little bland in areas, which can make the experience a little harder to get invested in. Though they do act as standalone entries, they focus heavily on explaining events that happen prior to their respective games, more so Roots than Sign, meaning they work best if you plan to play those games as well. Legend of the Twilight, or Dusk as I'll refer to it, is more of a down-to-earth entry out of the anime series. It follows a teenage boy named Shugo who is invited to play the world by his twin sister Reina after she mysteriously wins a contest that awards her the avatar characters of Kite and BlackRose, 2 of the legendary hackers. This entry is much more episodic and comedic in nature as it's just 2 siblings playing the world to reconnect while making new friends. There is some light incest implications, however, as Reina becomes upset when Shugo impresses the other girls that join their party, so that may be a deal breaker for some, but it never goes anywhere, and it's usually played up for laughs, but it's still there. Lastly, there's .hack Quantum. Quantum is a 3-episode OVA that follows school friends Sakuya, Tobias, and Mary as they play through the world together and get pulled into a strange event that not even the admins have control over. Quantum, I feel, showcases the best parts of the .hack series without getting too muddy with the philosophy and focusing on side plots to aid in explanations. It gets its story out, the characters have enough screen time to shine and have a fun ride all throughout. However, Quantum is designed to be a celebration of all things .hack, so there are a ton of Easter eggs, both visual and audible. So starting here may take away from the aspects as you won't have the prior knowledge to spot these Easter eggs. Next, let's move on over into the games. Though .hack has a few games under its belt, they are the primary media for the series and everything mostly revolves around their stories and outcomes. They aren't the easiest ones to obtain, unfortunately, but they are pretty important spots to dive into even if they aren't your first. .hack Infection, Mutation, Outbreak, and Quarantine are easily the hardest to obtain, with Quarantine reaching into the upper hundreds by itself, but they are what began the franchise as a whole. The story follows a player named Kite, who is invited to play the popular MMO, The World, by his school friend Orca. Upon their first dungeon expedition, together they encounter a strange enemy that one-shots Orca and crashes the game for Kite. This encounter leads Kite to explore the depths of the game itself to fully understand what truly happened as stranger events begin to unfold the deeper he goes. This was my entry point to the series, and each game in my opinion is worth playing even if it's not your first entry. The story can be a little slow and the gameplay is pretty dated, all things considered, as it tries to emulate the feel of an MMO from the early 2000s era, so this may be a turnoff for some people that prefer a slightly more updated version of the next set of games. Gaining these physical medias are not the easiest, but emulation does exist. Unfortunately, emulation might be the way to go if you're just looking to dive in and give it a try. However, there is something I'd like to discuss with you all at the end of this video. .hack.GU Volumes 1 through 3, Rebirth, Reminisce, and Redemption, are the next generation of .hack games that were released in the latter half of the PS2's lifecycle. These games follow the player known as Haseo, who began a quest for vengeance after the mysterious player known as Tri-Edge killed his friend Shino in the game, which mysteriously put her into a coma in real life. He spends the 3 games meeting new players and encountering different strange events that will hopefully lead him to his goal. Though the gameplay here is still set to emulate the feel of an MMO, CyberConnect 2 began coming into their own by now, and there is a lot more flair and flow in both attacks and cutscenes for a more anime experience for those who are searching for more of that style in the gameplay. Now if you're a collector, the GU games as well can be a little pricey, but can be found at a significantly lower price than the original 4 games. However, GU also received a remastered collection in the form of the Last Recode for both PS4 and Steam, which contains all 3 GU games and a brand new 4th game only found in this pack. Currently, as of February 19th, 2020, you can find it for $19.95 on Amazon for a physical copy, or $49.99 on Steam in the PSN store, but they frequently go on sale, so if you are looking for another game to pass the time in between releases, this might be for you. Lastly, I'd like to talk about the manga entries next. Though they are the second easiest to come by, they also encompass the ideology CyberConnect 2 has taken on of never telling the same story in the same 2 ways. There is .hack 4X's, Legend of the Twilight, GU+, and Link. All 4 manga recount the events of counterpart entries, but in a different way. First is .hack 4X's. This is a 2-volume manga that follows Kite and his crew through their events of infection, mutation, outbreak, and quarantine. However, the biggest change is that he is joined by a powerful player known as Kubiya. This mysterious young man grows close to Kite and the 2 of them are a powerful duo. However, something about Kubiya is off, and a secret between the 2 may cause some internal conflict among the friends. Both volumes are an easy read and are a nice taste of what the first 4 games have to offer, especially with their prices being so high. The Legend of Twilight manga is effectively just the anime, but with a couple stories that differ and an entirely different ending. Many fans view the manga as the stronger of the 2 medias, myself included, but both provide a lighthearted adventure into an MMO world via the siblings of Reina and Shugo, and both are worth experiencing, especially to see the differences. .hack GU Plus recounts the story of the GU games, however, it has a more murder mystery vibe to it, as CyberConnect 2 wanted a way to write around trying to fit in a lot of fight scenes, but still keep the stakes high. Though the games are the count-in story outcome, it's still a fun way to experience the world and characters of GU franchise if you aren't big on gaming. And lastly, there is .hack Link. Again, another retelling of a game, however, us fans in the West never got the .hack Link game for PSP, which many fans are still bitter about. Link follows the teenage boy Tokyo and his love of the world. The newest version of it is about to be released, and he can't help but be excited over it and the countless stories of legendary players such as Kite, Haseo, and BlackRose. That is, until one day he is teleported into the game and forced to team up with many of these series' returning characters. Now I'll admit, I'm not as familiar with the series as I've never finished the manga while it was originally being published, but I do know that it was designed to be a strong love letter to the series like Quantum was. But unlike Quantum, actual characters from past entries return instead of just their models. So in my opinion, it's not the best place to start, as you'll miss out on the excitement of a returning character, but it can also pique your interest in exploring their specific series, as each character is so different from another and seeing them interact with each other can be a treat in itself. And with that, I hope I was able to provide some insight on potential starting points for anyone interested in taking a dive but were unsure where to start. It can be a little intimidating when looking into the franchise, as it has several entries across multiple forms of media, but each story, for the most part, can be viewed as a self-contained story and don't require as much research as one might expect. And to the fans that may stumble upon this video, I know, I left out the light novel stories, but outside of AI Buster, they revolve a little more heavy around some of the pre-existing concepts in the world and the .hack universe, so I felt they wouldn't be as good starting points. With that being said, I hope that whichever entry you guys decide to choose will be an enjoyable experience, and I thank you all for watching. Oh, and welcome to the world. Thank you all again for watching this video. I know it's been a while since I made the last one, and I know I'm not the strongest YouTuber out there, so I really appreciate it when you guys come and sit through my videos. I did want to talk about one thing I mentioned earlier. There is a petition I've been sharing around for about a few months now. It's one of those change.org petitions. It's supposed to help me gather up the names and likes for people interested in seeing more .hack, most specifically a remastering of the first 4 games, Infection, Mutation, Outbreak, and Quarantine. Now I know usually petitions don't do much, but I figured if we share it around enough and we get enough names on it, we can use it as fodder, not to sway anything, but at least give some kind of backing power, saying, hey, we have this many people willing to sign the petition, saying that they're willing to pay for another game. So it might give Bandai Namco of Japan the push that we need to get more games made. So if you guys wouldn't mind just checking it out, you don't have to sign it if you don't believe in it. All I ask is that you share it around. Maybe someone will believe in it, someone will, put their name down. It's a little harmless thing, but I would greatly appreciate it.